Cool. Again, thank you, Ms. McGovern, for joining me today. We just want to debrief really quick on the things that took place during class on April 15th, 2021. Can you start by telling me the name of that, sharing the name of that subject matter that you taught?
Was edge lengths and volume.
Edge links involve. I do remember that, as a matter of fact,
Mhm.
and I thought, matter of fact, I was complimenting you on the fact that you actually had manipulatives for students to use. I haven't seen that done in a long time. I thought that was pretty awesome. I took
Thank
most
you.
of my notes on my phone, um, but so I'll tell you what I saw, some strengths that I saw, and some opportunities of growth. I saw that you automatically had your bell work right on the board for students to jump into immediately. I saw
Mhm.
students, I saw the lesson on inequalities and counting by tens. The fact that you use some round robin type of questioning to get students involved in the lesson on the early part, which was the bell work, that was just, that was stellar. To me, I felt like it caused students not to feel singled out. When you did jump into the lesson, you provided those manipulatives of plastic boxes on volume. I thought that was cool. You asked the class what an edge length was, and students, I guess they saw the routine of raising their hand to answer that. Several students raised their hand. Um, there was one student who had his head down, and this showed me some professionalism that I still have to compliment you on. And I'm not overdoing it here, but it was a friendly encouragement for the kid to sit up. He had a hood on, and he was unengaged. As you walked around the
Mhm.
room, you and your teammate actually walked around the room. He didn't respond the first time. Your actual voice was projecting in another direction. Uh-oh. Oh, come on. All right. Your voice was actually projected in another direction, and you immediately say, "Hey, I can't remember the young man's name, but you asked him to sit up to participate in the class." He didn't have a problem doing that at all, and I thought that was pretty cool. That showed that he had a lot of respect for the lesson and you as an instructor. You demonstrated the use of the TI-83. You provided paper copies. You didn't leave too much lag time in between asking questions and responding. That was awesome. Let's see, the kiddos practiced actually solving equations using the TI-83. They were actually doing the cube roots, square roots, as I were. They were cubing numbers, they were squaring numbers. Then you taught them how to do the cube root and square root, if I'm not mistaken. Did I get that right?
No, you're correct.
Okay. Let's see here. You taught the rounding factor. You even
Mhm.
allowed a colleague to teach the idea of truncating using the TI-83. Those
Mhm.
were areas I thought were pretty awesome. Now, before I give my ideas of things of areas of opportunity, where do you think that you could have possibly improved?
Mm, I struggle with wait time sometimes. I feel a lot of pressure to get things done, and sometimes I don't wait as long as I should. So I know that's an area of growth for me.
Mm, mm. Well,
Is that
typically, I think typically it is okay to give a student 1 to 2 minutes of wait time, um,
Mhm.
and you feel like you don't give them long enough or not enough.
Not enough, yeah. I'm too fast to want to help them, and that comes from the nurturing side of me, but sometimes I'm too nurturing where I need to let them do it on their own. So,
I would agree with that. I would agree
yeah.
with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting the best for our students. It just so happens that at least you recognize. At least you're not that
Mhm.
teacher who doesn't recognize it. You
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
So okay, with the paper copies, for example, what that was for the kiddos to manipulate the square and the cubes, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Okay, we took a break, came back. The kiddos, we took a break to go to the restroom because of COVID restrictions. Once the kiddos came back, I do recall the young men and women jumping right into the task. Did you
Mhm.
feel? Did you feel like you were pressed then to wait, like hurry up, get it done, hurry up, get it done?
Just getting used to all the restrictions on the COVID, it definitely cuts into your lesson time. And because that group is a group that has learning disabilities, I wanted to make sure that we covered everything as thoroughly as possible. So yeah, I felt a little bit of pressure to make sure we finished the lesson before the class ended.
That's interesting. How many kids were in that class? Was it?
About 15.
Okay, 15 kids. Huh. They're eighth graders. They seem to show that they were engaged. However, because they are students who struggle as learners, are there other manipulatives you could have used?
Well, normally I would like them to actually be able to touch all the three-dimensional figures and actually measure things. Like I've done it in the past that I'll pass out cereal boxes, just collect boxes to do volume. And but you can't reuse them with the COVID. So that's why I refrain from doing something like that.
That's perfect. 100% perfect.
Mm-hmm.
For students who struggle as they learn, struggling learners, the more that they can touch and feel their objects, it seems like they grasp the task a little better.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that is awesome. I didn't even have to point that one out. At least you already knew. You know, it's COVID. I understand that it's slowing us down. These are notes that I made specifically in the area of engagement, and you've already hit it right on the head.
Oh, and they would enjoy that much more. But yeah, I didn't know how to do that without. I mean, I would need so many boxes if I was gonna throw them away after a kid touched them. So
right. Well, what's the follow-up? What kind of follow-up did you provide after this lesson? Was there a follow-up connecting lesson?
Oh yeah, the following day before I went on to the next lesson, which we were talking about, we went into surface area. I reviewed what we did the day before, and I gave them a short formative assessment in which they had to answer one question. And
that was going to be my next suggestion, is if you hadn't done it. But it seems that professional teachers know that there must be a view before you can kind of touch and go. Miss McGovern, it wasn't too bad of a lesson at all. I shouldn't use that phrase. It was not a bad lesson at all. Let me change that. And you were co-teaching, if I'm not mistaken. Was that your co-teacher's first time in a room?
Yeah, that was actually the first day we had been together. And it was also the very first day I had that group of kids.
Okay. Well, let's add that to the pot. What kind of, inclusion did you give the co-teacher? Did they have a copy of the lesson plan?
Yes, she had the lesson plan. She has access to, I planned out the weeks and gave that all to her and gave her a paper copy with the answers on it before she came so she could review it ahead of time. She also has access to all the kids' Google Classroom and their IEPs and such like that.
Great. And that was going to be my suggestion, is to make sure that she did have a copy. So you've already got that covered. Hey, you're just killing it. Total professional here. All right, I'm learning a little bit. All right, I'm learning a little bit from a professional math teacher. Okay, man. Hey, so last question, and hey, William. Last question. The standard that was, I probably should have been my first question, but my last question was the standard that was covered. What was it? And was it a standard that you actually shrank down from the list of standards for eighth graders?
Well, the standard that we were using was it's 8EEA2, and it's using square root and cube root symbols to represent solutions to equations. And no, I thought we hit that pretty hard. I did not shrink it down. I used it the way it was. The second standard that we would be addressing is 8NSA2, and that would continue on in the next lessons to come, and that's on using rational approximation. Yeah.
Is it necessary? I guess the question is, would it even be necessary to shrink those down with that group of kiddos?
Oh yeah. You can only do a little bit at a time. Like this lesson normally would have 2 standards in it, and I just hit one of them.
Okay, so there's a place of opportunity for any teacher, but specifically in this case, we as a team possibly could have shrank that standard down even further because this is a group of students who are struggling. Give them small bites instead of large chunks. However,
Correct.
it worked out. It totally worked out with a team teacher in there who
Mhm.
was able to work out. So that wasn't a bad scenario at all. And I want to make sure that I affirm that fact that, hey, it did work out. Students grasped the idea. So, Miss McGovern, long and short, I didn't think that was bad at all. The
Thank you,
use of the
sir.
manipulatives, the recognition of the fact of shrinking the standard down. That's a
Mhm.
great job. At least we know it now. That's an area of opportunity as we go in the future, making sure we make them smaller. The other thing that I thought was great is, did I already talk about the manipulatives? I think so.
A little bit, yeah.
Other areas of engagement for that group. COVID restricted us, although I would have suggested it. You already knew. Use measurements of boxes to do volume with the edge, measuring the edges of those boxes using a ruler.
Mhm.
Those are the areas that I want to continue to remind you to keep on improving. Miss McGovern, that was a great lesson. You and your partner.
Thank
But
you, sir.
thank you for taking the time out to talk to me about this. You have a great day. This is awesome.
All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You
Have a
have a
good
good
night.
night. You too. Bye bye.
Bye.
And we can stop sharing.